7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'd like to thank those who have supported my channel by watching, subscribing, and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate your support and welcome you to my second analysis of James Cameron's 1994 action comedy True Lies, written and directed by James Cameron and based on the 1991 French comedy film La Totale. True Lies stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as Harry Tasker, Jamie Lee Curtis as Helen Tasker, Tom Arnold as Gib, Bill Paxton as Simon, Charlton Heston as Spencer Trilby, Eliza Dushku as Dana Tasker, and Tia Carrere as Juno Skinner. If you like this breakdown of True Lies, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Godfather of Cinema, movie reviews and more. Give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit the bell so that you won't miss any new videos that I'll upload in the future. Before I decided to do this film analysis of True Lies, I'd always thought of it as an exceptionally well-made popcorn movie. But as I looked over the script and realized that True Lies was more, much more than James Cameron's interpretation of
James Bond
on steroids, I realized that anything short of a full film analysis would only cover ground that has already been covered. Hopefully, my analysis will offer a fresh perspective or two on the film. In November 1990, German-French R&B duo Milli Vanilli became the poster children of infamy when dancers Rob Pilatus and Fab Morvan admitted that they had not sung anything on their multi-platinum debut album. An album that sold millions, won them the Best New Artist Grammy and 3 American Music Awards, including 3 #1 singles. Known for their spandex shorts, berets, and long cornrow extensions, Milli Vanilli's confession triggered an angry backlash and millions of refunds. The fans' anger was not against the quality of the album. In fact, the album was great. Fans were pissed at Milli Vanilli because they were fake and they'd been lied to. And likewise, with Harry Tasker, it's not that he lives a double life. One as a husband and father and the other as a government spy. It's the fact that both of his lives are lies. And the life that he chooses to spend the least amount of quality time in with his wife and daughter is boring as well. This brings me to part 2 of my analysis of True Lies. In February 2016 in West Palm Beach, Florida, police arrested 18-year-old Malachi Love Robinson at his office at 1209 North Australian Avenue, where he had been practicing medicine without a license. The arrest was carried out by an undercover police officer who visited the office where Dr. Robinson gave him physical treatment and medical advice. According to Dr. Robinson's profile on healthgrades.com, he says, "I utilize physiological, psychological, and mechanical methods such as air, water, light, heat, and earth to treat patients by simply putting on a white overcoat, calling himself a doctor, and opening an office. Malachi Love Robinson had tricked patients into accepting him as something that he wasn't." As a government spy, Harry Tasker is only as effective as his ability to make people trust him. And pulling this off is based on his ability to trick people into accepting him as something that he isn't. Therefore, when Harry shows up at Juno Skinner's office as a corporate art consultant out of San Francisco, he has the business cards, ghost phones, fax machines, and a hotel suite to back it up. By supplying his credentials and proof as to his identity, Harry deceives Juno into accepting him as something that he isn't. And speaking of con men, there is also Simon, the used car salesman, spotting Helen at a mall and handing her a briefcase containing his credentials, including a handgun. He then warns her to protect the briefcase by invoking national security. And based on the contents of this briefcase, especially the handgun and his word, Helen believes that he is a spy. Prior to the 20th century, only women with loose morals and outliers such as prostitutes and fallen women smoked publicly. In fact, the International Tobacco League discouraged filmmakers from portraying women smoking in movies unless those women were dishonorable.
Come up sometimes, see me.
In 1904, Jenny Lasher got a 30-day jail sentence for smoking in front of her children and putting their morals at risk. And in 1908, the New York City Board of Aldermen passed an ordinance that made it illegal for women to smoke in public. The president of the American Tobacco Company, George Washington Hill, hired public relations inventor Edward Bernays to get women hooked on smoking and to change the image of women smokers. To do this, Edward Bernays drew upon the research of his uncle Sigmund Freud's theories on the irrational motivations of the subconscious mind and the emotional associations by which one could manipulate the masses by exploiting these irrational motivations. Bernays also consulted psychoanalyst A.A. Brill, who told him that the push for emancipation and the right to vote had suppressed women's natural desires, as they were having fewer children and moving into jobs that were once held by men. Most importantly, Brill told Bernays, the cigarette was a symbol of the penis and that women would smoke if they could challenge male power with penises of their own. So, in 1929, Bernays organized a publicity stunt at the Easter Sunday Parade in New York City, an appropriate venue since the Statue of Liberty would stamp his message even deeper into the collective psyche of the women and the world witnessing the stunt. For in order to work, the stunt had to be understood at a frequency inaudible to the conscious mind, or if you prefer, the frequency of a dog whistle that would tell women that smoking made them equal to men. Bernays paid young, attractive, but not too attractive socialites, suffragettes, and debutantes to march in the parade and to light their cigarettes on his cue at the same time. He then told the press that a group of suffragettes were preparing to stage a protest at the parade by lighting up what they described as torches of freedom. Bernays even hired his own photographers to ensure that the pictures were good when they were published worldwide. Needless to say, the stunt was a success, and cigarette sales in the United States soared between 1925 and 1930, and by 1944, 36% of women smoked, compared with only 5% in 1923, 6 years before Bernays' stunt. This brings us back to True Lies and Simon the used car salesman telling Harry,
and you got to work on their dreams.
people don't buy cars like Simon's 57 Corvette for comfort, handling, or gas mileage. In fact, the car doesn't handle well at all and gets lousy gas mileage. No, when someone buys such a car, they are doing so to create a fantasy. Like any housewife, Helen just wants to feel needed. She wants to feel like she's doing something important, and she wants a little danger and excitement in her day to break up the monotony in her marriage and job as a legal secretary. Therefore, when Simon rushes up to her out of the blue, hands her a briefcase containing his credentials, including a Walther PPK pistol, the same pistol
James Bond
uses in the 1962 film Dr. No, and later tells her that he is a government spy. Helen sees in Simon a means of escaping her dull marriage and her job as a legal secretary by agreeing to help him stop terrorists. Like Helen, the Crimson Jihad are idealists, and Juno, like Simon, is more than happy to indulge their fantasy by helping them smuggle 4 nuclear warheads to the Florida Keys. The Crimson Jihad's fantasy is that they can use these bombs to force America out of the Middle East. This is a losing cause, but Juno doesn't feel bad about her role in it any more than Simon feels bad about tricking women like Helen into believing that he can help them escape their boring marriages to
Ridiculous.
husbands like Harry Tasker. No, the only thing that Juno Skinner cares about is the money the Crimson Jihad pays her. Everyone knows someone who is always happy. They are always on social media posting selfies of vacations, dinner outings, concerts, clubs, famous landmarks in other states or countries. Every Friday is a celebration. Cost is never a concern. Like the famous ad says, they just do it. If they want it, they get it on credit. No big deal. Then one day you get a GoFundMe link in your inbox from this friend asking for money to keep their car from being repoed and their landlord from kicking them out for not paying their rent. Acceptance is a basic need, and since we all strive to appear better than we really are, all of us, with no exceptions, are liars, and none of us are who we pretend we are. In fact, who and what we pretend we are is often the complete opposite of who and what we really are. Therefore, if it sounds too good to be true, it is most likely a lie. Take Harry Rehnquist, for instance, and the huge impression he makes on Juno Skinner by the fact that he has an eye for Persian art, which by coincidence happens to be her field of expertise. Harry Rehnquist is also an excellent dancer. And to make things even better, he is a corporate art consultant, which also happens to be the perfect fit for Juno's business as an art seller. And then there is Simon, the used car salesman, and the huge impression he makes on Helen Tasker. As a government spy, Simon is well traveled, and each hour of each day of his life is full of danger and excitement. He even takes credit for Harry's shootout with Aziz, which makes the front page of the newspaper. Harry Rehnquist may be Mr. Everything to Juno Skinner, but Helen's side of Harry's double life leaves a lot to be desired. To her, he's just a computer sales geek. But little does Helen know that Simon, the government spy whose life is full of danger and excitement, also has a double life that leaves a lot to be desired. In fact, his grungy appearance is not from the stress of being hunted day and night by assassins. His clothes are wrinkled and dirty because there isn't a lot of money in selling used cars. In fact, Simon's real job is as boring as Harry's job. But one thing that Simon has over Harry is that he is really himself when he's not pretending to be someone else, unlike Harry, who is fake, whether he's in Switzerland playing the role of Harry Rehnquist or at home with his wife and daughter playing the role of Harry Tasker. As a spy, Harry's motive for lying is unselfish, as his lies protects Helen and their daughter from terrorists like Aziz, who kidnaps Dana after finding out that she is Harry's daughter. And speaking of unselfishness, if your 2-year-old child got some crayons, drew a picture of a house and gave it to you, would you tell the child that her picture looks lousy, or would you lie to your daughter by telling her that her picture looks beautiful? Like so, Helen isn't the least bit interested in Harry's computer sales job. In fact, she even jokes with a co-worker named Allison that the only time she wants him to talk about his job is when she has trouble falling asleep. Now, although this is the way that she honestly feels about Harry's job, keeping it real by telling him how she honestly feels about his boring job would be cruel, tactless, and nothing you would say to someone you love. Therefore, sometimes you have to lie to protect others. Then there are those who lie to benefit themselves, like Simon, who goes all out to impress upon Helen that his life is one big Indiana Jones adventure after another. His
James Bond
missions take him around the world, and he is never in one spot for very long. In reality, however, Simon spends a lot of his time in one spot, selling used cars. And he doesn't live on the run either. He lives in a trailer. And for the same reason that he will lie on his mom to sell a lemon like his 57 Corvette to Harry Tasker, Simon will also lie to a gullible housewife like Helen in order to have sex. Like Simon, Juno Skinner is a scavenger, but where he scavenges dying marriages for discontent housewives, Juno scavenges dead civilizations like the Persian Empire for valuable artifacts. She also scavenges idealists like Aziz in the Crimson Jihad for cash by helping them smuggle nuclear warheads to the Florida Keys. And as Simon is only looking for sex and not a committed relationship, Juno is only looking to get paid by the highest bidder and isn't loyal to any nation or cause, because America, she feels, is dying as Harry and Helen's marriage is dying and vulnerable to scavengers like Simon. Innovation is the key to survival, and the key to innovation is the ability to adapt. At one time, Kodak controlled 90% of the U.S. film market. In fact, the company was so big in its time that it even had its own chart-topping song in 1973 called Kodachrome, performed by Paul Simon. Throughout the 20th century, Kodak dominated the photographic film market. Its name as ubiquitous as today's Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Netflix. Although Kodak invented the first digital camera in 1975, the company's outlook, due to its immense footprint in the moment, had become myopic as it continued to focus on the short term, on film, even though photography was rapidly shifting away from film to cheap, user-friendly digital photography. By the time Kodak decided to dip its toes into the digital market, it had lost its market share to Sony and Canon. And in 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy and faded into history as all old companies and civilizations, and sometimes marriages that refuse to adapt to changing times, die. Such is the case in True Lies. Helen and Harry have been married for so long that they have fallen into the same routine. For example, after returning from Switzerland, he and Helen go through their morning rituals repeating stock lines to each other. When Helen casually tells him that she slept with the plumber to get $100 knocked off the bill, Harry commends her on doing a good job, kisses her, and leaves for work. The problem is that they've been married for so long that the possibility that she could cheat on him never enters his mind. Therefore, no matter how many times he promises her to be home in time for dinner, he is always late. He even breaks his promise to be home to celebrate his birthday. And later that night, when he does finally arrive home from work to celebrate his birthday, he is so exhausted from shooting it out with Aziz that he dozes off before she has a chance to let him see her in a sexy lingerie outfit she bought for him. As Harry no longer sees his wife, he no longer sees his daughter either, who is fast becoming a young woman with her own ideas about herself and the world she once took for granted as a child. And yet, Harry still sees her as a 10-year-old child by referring to her as his little pumpkin. He looks in on her as she is asleep and sees an angel, even though there are rebellious stickers and posters all around her bed warning him that she isn't an angel or a little kid anymore. And when he gives her a snow globe he brought from his so-called business trip to Switzerland, she drops it into the trash bin as soon as he turns his back to leave her room. Harry treats Helen like an old piece of furniture that's never been moved, something comfortable, permanent, and at the same time invisible. And being that he often works late, it never occurs to him that his sweet, innocent, plain Jane housewife is interested in anything beyond listening to him talk about his boring job and his endless excuses for why he can't make it home for dinner. But Helen's affair with Simon opens Harry's eyes to the fact that she also has a double life. Now, he can make it home for dinner instead of working late. When he questions her about her day in order to catch her lying, he hangs on to her every word, unlike before when he didn't hear her tell him that she had slept with the plumber to get him to knock $100 off the bill. And Harry even looks her in the eye now, unlike before when he barely notices her in the scene in which they are getting ready for work. And Harry also sees another side of Helen in the hotel scene in which she is playing the role of a prostitute named Michelle, and under the impression that she is dancing for a suspected arms dealer. In reality, however, it is Harry sitting in the shadows with his legs crossed watching her and enjoying the show. As I pointed out earlier, Harry's effectiveness as a spy, as Simon's effectiveness as a used car salesman, is based on the trust and belief of the other party that he is who and what he says he is. In the same way, it's like having a really good conversation with someone until you tell the person where you're from, where you work, where you went to school, or whatever. And the person all of a sudden freezing up and losing interest in you. Or it's like being on a job interview. You pass all the tests proving that you can do the job, but once you tell them that you don't have a degree, you're sent home. Or it can be as it is in the aforementioned scripture, in which Jesus' qualifications are scrutinized because of his pedigree. You can't do wonders in the eyes of people with preconceived opinions about you. People who discount you based on where you are from or who you are connected to. Hence, in her former life as a housewife / legal secretary, Helen Tasker could not dance for Harry. But the idea of dancing for a total stranger who cannot judge her in any way other than the moment frees Helen to be someone else with Harry. And he buys it. Thanks for watching part 2 of my analysis of True Lies, and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of my next film analysis or review dropping soon. Until next time.